hard to describe that he really can have emotion and tenderness. It maybe not on the same timetable as what might be expected, but he can be very tender. He does have language and can be funny as all get out when he just comes prancing in the room and says, "Later on the 11 o'clock news." You can't help but be amused by him. There's not a picture in our house that is not screwed into the wall, not just hung, but screwed into the wall, because when he is wild, the curtains are down, the couch is turned over, the piano, he moved the piano, which is an upright grand. He moved the piano across the room one time. He was like 12 years old before he slept 2 nights in a row. He also has, it used to be worse, he still has some pica where he eats inedible things. I used to say I could have a garage sale with what went through his GI tract.
81, school was out June 81. July 5th, we opened our doors for foster parents. When we started as foster parents, I didn't know what a really special child was. So Luna might have been the first. No, we got another special baby. They were staying with us for a while. Then they would move on someplace else, or maybe go home or to a relative. But we've always had special kids. You know, after maybe year 1, even year 1, we got him.
When we first decided to become foster parents, we thought we were only going to do emergency placements so that we would care for children on a short-term basis until the Department of Social Services came up with a long-term plan. Emergency placements never last only 45 days. They're usually 8 or 9 or 12 months, and so we end up with children in our care for a long time. Maria came to us at 7 days old. She was our first foster child. Charlie came to us at 6 months old. Charlie lived at Children's Hospital in Oakland the first 6 months of his life. When he came to live with us, it was with the expectation that he most likely wouldn't live to be 12 months old. He needed a home, and possibly a home to die in. So we brought him home, understanding that that was going to be what he needed. And then once he had a family and people to love him and cherish him and provide one-on-one care, he had a chance to really attach to Joe and I and to his siblings in our home. He began to thrive and not just survive. And then we were faced with this little wonderful boy who was going to have a life and needed a family. And so Joe and I took a serious look at meeting his needs. And we're not young. I'm 50, how old am I? I'm 55, and my husband is 60. And to take on children in our later years, especially special needs children, was a huge decision. But we just kind of looked at each other and said, someone needs to do this, and it may as well be us.
And they were going to move him. So I asked if there was anything that we could do to keep him. So they said, you could become a long-term foster parent. So at that point, we became combination emergency plus long-term, because he was going to be institutionalized, and we know that. So we didn't want that.
So what happens is children languish in the hospital. They don't get to come out. They don't get to go into a family's home. Or they move from the hospital to a group home, or to be institutionalized if they have special needs.
When he was first diagnosed, a doctor in San Francisco said, institutionalize him, here's the papers, sign them, save your marriage. And my husband just looked at him and said, don't make that decision for us. You have more faith in the state of California than you do in our marriage, and we're gonna make this work. And I'm grateful to my husband's sense of humor that gets us through some strange times sometimes when Daniel does something so inappropriate. And I'm also grateful for his tenacity. We've hung tough, and we're doing okay. But I'm very grateful to Respite.
When I get a child out of the hospital to come home on an emergency placement, we get a reimbursement rate of $22 a day. They were probably spending $2,000 to $3,000 a day minimum for that child to be in the hospital.
When we were first beginning with Respite and still somewhat uncomfortable with it, we thought we kind of had to show that we were going out, go to a movie, go to dinner, we went out to a camper shell over a pickup that we have, and we just crashed, set the alarm on my husband's watch, and went to sleep and came back in and said, yeah, the movie was fine.
Sometimes when I have respite, I take a book, a pillow, and a blanket, I get in my van, I drive down to a parking lot, and I go to sleep. And I sleep in the back of my van, because what I need is sleep. Sometimes I read a book, or I go to the library. A lot of times I'm running around, taking care of appointments. Sometimes I'll just go have a cup of coffee.
First we were so cute and we were so tired. We'd go out, we have a patio. We would ease out the door downstairs and go out on the patio and put our feet up on the deck like that. Oh, that was delicious. After that, every once in a while we would kind of like maybe go out and have dinner or something,
People sometimes say, well, why don't you use other family, other friends to watch your handicapped child? We'd have no friends or other family if we did that. In fact, we have tried, and we won't do that again.
One thing I really work hard to find for my kids is a sense of community, of people that cherish them, care for them, support them, and understand them. And certainly our respite workers that Family Support Services has sent have been a very, very important part of our community. My children love their respite worker, Linda, and I hope that she's part of their life forever.
Charlie, he was just a little bit of a guy, and he needed all kinds of special medical assistance, and with breathing to you name it, he needed it, and only Kathy was equipped to do that, not me. So I sort of looked after Maria when my first introduction to the family, but then she called back into the office and was asking for respite, somebody who was willing to do some of the, the tube feeding and some of the things that Charlie needed, and so I really got really good at doing some of these things. I was a little afraid at first, a little nervous, but I'm not anymore. So I've gotten over that skittishness. It's really not all that odd.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo.
The light.
Boo.
The light.
I know I'm happy. I am. I'm just teasing you.
I am 65 years old. I think I am. Am I 65, honey?
No.
66? Oh, I'm 66 years old. And I still can't think of anything that I'd like to do more than taking care of children like these, children that don't have anyone and children that need somebody.
Becoming a foster parent and becoming an adoptive parent has been the hardest thing I've ever done. And at the same time, it's been absolutely the most joyous and the most wonderful opportunity to love children I never thought I would have in my life. And to be able to know that every single day I make a huge difference, not just to the children that I love, or my son and daughter and permanent members of my family, but to every foster child that comes into my home, and that we're making a huge contribution to society, and that's important to me. To know that every single day I've gone outside my comfort zone to do something that seems extraordinary to other people, that just seems necessary and important to me. I can't imagine my life without Maria and Charlie.